I mean, I couldn't imagine a better setup for us creatively. It's been really fun.
Yeah, it does feel like the show is in such a great place right now. There was so much sort of strange turmoil and changes over the last couple of years after Trevor left. Um, and they were sort of searching for a permanent host, I guess, but then, did all the celebrity, rotation and then, sort of trying you guys out. What was that like for you? Did you feel like you were in contention to be the permanent host of the show, or was that not even on your mind at that time?
It was, it, I don't know, I don't know exactly where they were at that time. I think there were just so many unknowns. I think there's without a doubt the show and the network was in a place where they went, oh, what do we do now? It was all unexpected. And um, I never thought that hosting would ever be something that I would want to do, could do, have an opportunity to do. But the second that it became available, and they were figuring things out, I kind of felt like I had to throw my hand up in the air and say, put me in, coach, without thinking about it too hard, because you never know when you're going to get an opportunity like that. And I didn't know if they would consider me or not. So I kind of threw my hat in the ring before I could think about whether I could actually do it. And then I did get the opportunity to do it, and I started to panic.
Yeah.
I started to, slowly unravel Fox Blaine style, and go, oh my God, like, can I even do this? It looks so hard. And how am I even going to tackle this? Do I get to, how many times can I rehearse? And this is, I was complaining to my husband often about, not complaining, but definitely like unleashing my anxiety about all of it. And we were sitting down eating dinner, and we got takeout one night, and I opened up my fortune cookie, and it just said, it's kind of fun to do the impossible. And my husband was just like, well, there's the advice that I couldn't give you.
Yeah.
And he took the fortune and he got it framed, and now it sits in my office. So every time before I go out to host a show, I look at that and I go, yeah, it's kind of fun to do the impossible. And then I just remind myself to enjoy the ride. But yeah, it was a strange time. It was a little scary because we just didn't know what was going to happen, if we were going to stay on the air, what the future was. But some great things came out of it in terms of getting to meet some comedic heroes of mine. I got to spend time with Sarah Silverman and Chelsea Handler, and Marlon Wayans came through, and John Leguizamo, and these people who I admired and watched their work for so long. So that was a cool outcome of all of it.
And then when they decided to bring John back on Mondays, were you surprised by that? Were you, because I mean, you had been working with Trevor for so long. I don't think you ever thought that you would be working with Jon Stewart on the show.
Right.
What was that like to sort of realize that you were going to get that opportunity? Because he's obviously such a legend of the show and someone who
Yes,
everybody, grew up watching and looking up to.
absolutely. He's the whole reason I desperately wanted to be part of the show. So, yeah, it was a huge surprise. I had no idea. None of us did, except for I think maybe one person or two people at the top who were making the decision. And but it was the just the greatest news. I have admired him for so long and never got the opportunity to work with him. But but it's funny because he built the show to be a certain way, in the way, not just the way that things are run like a machine to get the show out on time, but his perspective stuck around the way that morale is at the studio, the way we work with one another. I'm sure some of the guys have talked about this, but we're a workplace where anyone can pitch an idea and it could end up on the show. Interns can
Hmm.
pitch ideas, PAs can pitch ideas, security could pitch an idea and it could end up on the show. So, that's something that he instilled. And it's just that kind of open collaboration that stuck around all through the years. So it was like I got to, benefit from him, even though I didn't get to work with him until he came back. But then having him come back and to watch him do his thing, to get to watch him behind the scenes work through his process and come in with a distinct point of view, but have flexibility for collaboration and to create a feeling in the room that allows for everyone to feel safe enough to throw out their ideas. Like just watching him lead has been such an education and a real gift.
So I think he was hosting or a big part of the show, the live show on election night this past year. But then
Yeah.
you were the host the day after the election, after it had been called, which I'm sure was scheduled for a long time. I would
Yes.
imagine that you were hoping to be, reporting on the election of the first female president,
Uh-huh.
um, and you were not. But I do think that it was so impactful for you to be in that chair that night, because there are so few, basically no women hosting late night shows, and so you had, you were there, and you gave that great monologue about America electing its first felon before its first female president. So can you talk about, how you felt going into that night and what you wanted to say, and just what that felt like?
Yeah. I very much wanted to be there, however it shook out. So I was glad to take that spot. But I will be honest, I was not anticipating things to shake out the way they did. It was a tough day to come into work for sure for a lot of us. And also we shot the live show the night before, so we were all coming in with, maybe 4 hours of sleep. Some of us hungover, a lot of us distraught, some gloating. There were just a lot of feelings going
Wait,
in.
gloating? Who was gloating at the show?
I
I don't
mean, we
remember.
had a few, we got a few. We're not all one mindset there. We got some diversity in thought.
Okay, okay.
We got some. So it was an interesting time, but coming in that day, I think watching the coverage, the news coverage the night before into that morning, everyone was so quick to play the blame game and say Kamala's campaign didn't do this, they didn't do that, voters wanted this and they messed up, and here are all the ways they went wrong, and they were all conflicting with one another. Everyone, none of it made any sense, but everyone kind of the Fox Plains things. It was just having to put out a hot take before you have time to really digest and think it through. And I just felt like, let's not do that. Let's just walk in and be honest, and let's sit in this moment as it feels right now and deal with the reality that we're dealing with. And it's also not that, Trump is the boogeyman anymore, because unfortunately, he's holding up a mirror for the rest of America to take a good hard look. Like, we have to face that. And there are many things at play. So tomorrow and the next day, we'll figure out what the Democratic Party did to fail on this. But right now, let's just sit in this moment and be honest about how it feels and what's going on. And we just had that conversation. We just had a very open, honest conversation. And the team was so amazing at rolling up their sleeves and giving 200% that day, even though they were running on fumes. And it really, I was really proud of that show, just because it was a great example of how hard our team works and how everyone just gives it their all, always, under any circumstances.
Does it feel different now doing the show with Trump as president than it did the first time?
Yeah, very. I mean, there are some things that feel familiar, like the news cycle moving so quickly. The first time he was in office, I do remember shows being written and then having to do last minute rewrites because he would do something insane and we just couldn't ignore it. We had to tackle it on the show. And that is happening, tenfold now.
Hmm.
It's happening often, where we will go into rehearsal with a full script and then do a top to bottom rewrite right after rehearsal because something has happened that we can't ignore that becomes the story of the day. So there's that feels different. It Listen, we're never at a loss for material. I can tell you that much. Something is always happening worth talking about. But it can be really hard because the scarier things get, like we were talking about earlier, the scarier things get, the more fear we have. It's harder to find the humor sometimes, but the team always ends up figuring it out one way or another.